Okay, well, thank you, Bill and Steve. That conversation was fantastic. It was a great way to start the morning. I'm Nick Zitzen. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at ServiceNow, and I simply couldn't be happier to introduce our next session, which, aside from being very rich and thoughtful, as I know the three guests very well, is likely to be the most off-script session that we have at our federal forum, because I know that these three leaders are innovative, they're creative, and they don't like to be told exactly what to say and when to say it. So I think that's fair. We may have some dogs barking, we may have some noise from outdoor equipment, who knows? It's all virtual, but we're going to make the best of it. So really looking forward to this session with three dynamic leaders from the Department of Health and Human Services. So with that, I would like to just briefly introduce our panelists, and then I will ask questions and I'll go in reverse. So first, a warm good morning and welcome to Perrin Ashmore, who is the Chief Information Officer for the Department of HHS. Perrin, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Thanks for the invitation.
Will it be a dog on your side, just so we know?
No, likely probably a vacuum cleaner or something.
Okay, good. We'll be prepared. Thank you. Happy also to welcome Bahar Niakan, who is the Acting Chief Human Capital Officer of the Department of Health and Human Services. Bahar, good morning to you.
Good morning, Nick. Hope you're well and hope our leaf blowers don't blow any leaves this morning on our end.
That's okay. Since you and I had the chance to work together, I won't say how many years ago, like you get a free pass.
Thanks.
And then a very warm welcome to Blair Duncan, who is the Acting Assistant Secretary of Administration for the department. Blair, I'm just going to go right into it and say good morning to you, and I'm going to give you the first word in this conversation. You know that obviously we at ServiceNow love the conversation about modernizing systems and making them more people-centric. And I know this has been a cornerstone of all the work you have led since you joined HHS. So in saying good morning, I'd love to get your thoughts on what has been at the center of your agenda and what are some of the things about which you're most proud of the work you've done.
Well, good morning to you, Nick, and I appreciate that. I actually took notes of what I wanted to say first, but now that we're off script, I'm just going to start. Okay, I think what we it's the teamwork that we've developed. What we started way back when was, how do we do something different? We needed to do something different in the HR space. We needed to come up with new, innovative ideas, modern, fresh. It was doing something that, was different. So we as a team, and I'm going to say that every single time, it was the team effort that is what has made this what we have done a success. It's totally an idea where we took something, we turned it completely upside down. We started completely fresh. I'm proud of that because that was the tipping point that allowed other people to get on board. Good example is in federal government HR, it was normally HR first, system second, people third. That's what we did. We changed that. We put people first, HR and systems in a tie for second. And what that allowed us to do is to change the mindset of the people building the systems, thinking of how do I modernize? It wasn't solely based upon modernization of HR. It was modernization of how I deliver to a client, which is completely different than the way they used to think. So I'm extremely proud of that. I think the other part that we were really successful with was we didn't, and I'm not a real fan of this term, but I'm going to use it. We didn't boil the ocean. We didn't tackle everything on day one. We went at this methodically. We did pilots. We showed that we can be successful small scale before we went out and threw the large pieces out for everybody. So by doing it that way and engaging everybody in what we've done, in the past year, we started with, we actually turned on what we call HR Exchange in February of 2020. A year later, we have a completely, I couldn't even imagine back a year ago what we have today. I thought we were going to have a neat, cool system that was customer focused, but it has grown exponentially. And so that's what I'm proud of. And I think And again, it's the teamwork that really brought this together. It was that's what I'm proudest of, is bringing this group of people together, engaging everybody, and really putting together a product that is of value to the customer. See, and I wrote that down.
Yeah,
It's written right here. Every bit of that I wrote down. So back to you, Nick.
I was going to say that's surprisingly on script, Blair. I mean, as far as great comments go, Bahar, let me get your reaction to that, because I think one of the themes that Blair talked about that I've personally been struck at watching you and Blair and Perrin really collaborate is that you map to stakeholders extraordinarily well, which of course everybody in federal service knows. If you can't map to stakeholders up and down the chain of command, then nothing ever happens. So I wonder what would be your take on why that's been so successful at HHS.
Yeah. So you guys, I think we're going to have to go a little bit off script to really meet Nick's expectations around how we normally speak. You can chime in at any point. But basically, I think historically, one of the issues that we've had within the department is that priorities have been established at the headquarters level, and then we've worked historically to then have everyone get in line with those priorities. And with this leadership team, what I've found is that we focus on understanding what our stakeholders' priorities are first, and then establishing shared priorities, and then working to cascade those across the organization together. I think that that's been key to our success. And as Blair said it, the teamwork that's come hand in hand with that. At the earliest opportunity, we bring our stakeholders to the table. When we don't, we let them know why we couldn't. For example, if we have to meet a short turnaround time, but we let them know that we do want to hear their input. We do want to hear their feedback, so that the product that we have and the effort that we make is the most successful one, because we're all aligned and working on it together. So we bring our stakeholders to the table. We ask them to share their input. They don't always necessarily at the beginning feel most comfortable sharing what their thoughts are, but we make sure we get as many perspectives as possible. We make sure that they hear back from us that we have heard them clearly, and then we take action and we let them know what actions we've taken and that it's been based on their feedback. And stakeholder engagement, much like employee engagement across HHS, is the key to our success across the board. We make sure that what we are doing is in line with what their needs and priorities are. As an example, since we've brought so much transformation into the department in the area of HRIT, our HR leadership, our IT leadership, our HRIT leadership, they've been asking us what our roadmap to the future is going to look like. And I was like, hold on, why are you asking me what our roadmap to the future is going to look like? You guys are going to come to the table and we're going to talk about what our roadmap to the future should look like. And so actually next week, we're getting together our first session to start considering where we've been, where we are now, and where we want to go together. We're stronger when we're aligned and moving together in the same direction. And so I think across the board, that's been our approach. And that's why we've been so successful over the past few years.
Perrin, I'd like to bring you into this. I think the theme is clear. And I think one of the things that our ServiceNow team has known of you as a CIO, and I assume it's the same in terms of guidance you give other technology partners, is that HHS wants to use modern technology to collaborate across the agency. I mean, it's an incredibly diverse stakeholder set. You go all the way from the CDC to the NIH and everywhere in between. So what's your take as the CIO on the importance of modern technology and how you stitch together a conversation like the one we're having about people engagement?
So I think first is what Bahar and Blair have said, right? It's understanding the business and the business needs. We are lucky at HHS that we have so much talent in terms of technology that it's really when you start to understand the business that you can match the technology to the problem. And in the past, we may have built technology solutions that were looking for problems. We've really changed that in the last couple of years. I mean, the pandemic, the response, It all required that. It required things that where we had to take calculated risks. We had to introduce new platforms, new technologies in days, not years, but days. Other things that we had to consider was, is this something that had to be operated across the enterprise? Was it facing externally, internally? Was it focused on a specific division for a specific need? So all of that comes into play, Nick. But I still think, as was expressed earlier, it's the partnership, right? And I think the other thing that what we did in HR, it's not something that we accomplished in a week. I mean, this has been a couple years in the making, right? So, I mean, we started off with a large program which faced all of our personnel processing staff in our implementation of PeopleSoft. When we succeeded with that, through those conversations with our colleagues, we started to see the gaps, and we started to talk about, hey, what's most important that we should target next? How should we do this? What should be our approach? And it's really this idea of being able to put together solutions where, yeah, some part might be done in PeopleSoft, another part might be done in ServiceNow, another part might be done in the financial management system. But we have a common authentication management fabric, right? We have a common understanding of how email works across the department. So it really begins working together. And I will tell you that we will understate sometimes the difficulty of those conversations. And it's especially framing, and again, what helped was, our approvals come oftentimes from our financial management community. But going in with your business partners and IT together to frame the outcomes in ways that resonate with our financial management leaders makes all the difference in the world. And it continues to make all the difference in the world because it's no longer just a technology. Well, and I make this up because we're with you here at ServiceNow, but if I get a subscription for ITSM, well, big deal. But when I say, hey, I'm able to hire people instead of in 180 days, I can now bring them on in 20 days. That's a cost that I can express to about the mission, right? A mission improvement. And so we've done that with this program. And I think that is one of the big reasons for success.
I just assume, Perrin, that you use the ServiceNow example in all of these that you do. Is that?
You can assume anything you want.
Let me shift gears, and Blair, I want to come back to you to start this one. I want to ask it to all three of you, and before I do, just to put it in the right context, the pandemic. Everybody who's watching us and listening to us today has been through a personal experience and a professional experience. Obviously, we are extremely grateful to the three of you, to everybody at HHS, and to everybody in federal service for helping navigate this country and the world through a very difficult time, in the midst, by the way, of a political transition, which only makes the jobs more complex that you do. So, Blair, having said that, starting with you, I would love your reflection. When you think back on how things have changed in the past 12 months, things that you learned about the agency and about the work that you do, I wonder what you would share with the people watching us today in terms of what were the takeaways, what's the advice you'd give?
My advice is treat it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to do something different. It forces organizations to either come together, band together, and collaborate together, or you're not going to make it. You're not going to be able to survive in this type of work environment. So I think that's what we did. I mean, what across the nation, we all went to a completely new work environment where telework and working remotely and whatever you want to call it happened immediately. That initially we thought, oh my gosh, the world's going to fall apart. We're never going to be able to do our work. But very quickly, people adapted. Amazingly how quickly they adapted. Policies came out to support people in their new work environment. And so as we gone through this, it's been about a year now. I think it was the 17th of March or something like that when the federal government said go max telework. So it's changed everything, but it hasn't. We're still doing the work that we're doing. It affected most people in that it was the environment that they're doing their work in. So it's an opportunity to do something different. Maybe it's an opportunity to make work-life balance better for some segment of your population. Maybe it's an opportunity to recruit across the nation versus within local communities. Or you can pocket local communities that you want to for diversity and inclusion. You can find these opportunities all out there because the work environment has changed. So my advice is don't look at it as something as a negative, but look at it as an opportunity to do things differently to support your customers and clients in a new and innovative way. So that's where I would go with that one. And I do have to say, Perrin was talking about the ideas of, how we all come together to take that IT. I'm not IT, so I rely on Perrin and his IT skills, but it's really the skills of those individuals to tell folks that it's the combination of the two that will get you the big bang for the buck. So a good example is it was on Perrin in March of last year to say, do we have the bandwidth to go all telework in Asia? And the answer was because of his team and his ability to communicate across HHS very quickly, it was done. Not a single hiccup across the IT space when it comes to bandwidth. So it's that collaboration, and Perrin collaborated with a whole bunch of folks on that one. But it was the teamwork, it was the commitment to getting the mission done, regardless of where we're doing it, is what I'm trying to say. It's an opportunity, success across the board.
So, Perrin, I'm going to let you go next since Blair gave you a sort of a free advertisement there. So, how would you like to build on what Blair said?
Well, first off, we had top-down support, and we continue to do that. And that's one thing I'll say. Even in the transition, President Biden and his staff have been nothing but supportive of the mission. And the work continues, and you can see that through it all, and thankfully, the transition has occurred, and we continue to serve the American people and continue to make saving lives our number one priority. The thing I would say is that I cannot take credit. I mean, it's like, we understood the things we had to adjust. It's much like when I use ServiceNow and I click on something, it looks easy, but under the covers, I know that thousands of people have contributed to make that click happen. So we definitely, in February of last year, made some adjustments, made the plans, communicated across the department. Remote work, as Blair has described, was not and is not easy in this department. There's so many people who remained on the front lines, so we had to understand that as well. It's the thing that comes to mind for me is flexibility, and we have worked hard in HHS and across our CIOs to understand that we can't sit on a request, and we had to make these choices about, okay, what are we going to focus on to be responsive during the pandemic, and what things can we say, no, that has to go to the back burner. We cannot do both of these things at the same time. And again, even we're seeing, and through the transition, we have incredible support, top down, to make all those things happen. And we can talk about all the things that we've experienced, 3 waves of infection. Now we have multiple vaccines. I mean, and working to get up to that vaccine. This department has been absolutely stellar. The people of this department have done so much and contributed incredibly. And I was fortunate enough to be in many of those conversations. And it's just been a great honor and privilege to be part of it.
Bahar, I'll give you the last word on this question, which I know is dangerous knowing you, giving you the last word on any question, but I'll do it anyway.
I appreciate that. There have been so many injects that have come during this COVID time period, and we already had so many injects across the department with our myriad of mission areas. We have our components, our operating divisions, our staff divisions that oversee such diverse areas of focus. And to bring COVID in and with all the injects into the professional environment, as well as into the personal environments of our staff, has been I think that at times we saw a lot of members of our team shaken, just as we saw the world shaken by what was happening. And so during this time period, what has been incredibly important for all of us is to know what our truths are, to understand what stabilizes us during this time period. And for us within the department, we had two primary focuses for our team, at least within HR, and that we shared, and I think everyone shared that focus with us. And those two things were mission accomplishment and employee safety. And we focused on those two things, and we held those things as our truths throughout this time period. And I think that because of our focus on that, that is why we've been able to accomplish so much within this time period, as we've had employees certainly out in the field, as well as employees working from home and everyone in between, just accomplishing, people working nonstop. We have made it a success along with all of our partners around the country and around the world. And part of our stabilizing factor has been that partnership, even the partnership that I have with Blair and Perrin, the partnership that we have between the Office of Human Resources and the Chief Information Officer. These partnerships have been what have led to our success, because each of us can do our part, but we also have realized that we're part of something bigger. And that is how we've worked, as part of something bigger.
Oh, I got to jump in. You can't give me the last word. I got to say something. One of the major things that happened because of COVID is if we wouldn't have communicated more often, we wouldn't have been successful. Way back when, we would meet our human resources directors once a month. We'd have a conversation. Yay, congratulations. But upon COVID, we had a choice. We could not communicate, or we could over communicate. And what we thought was over communication was not enough communication. So that is a major difference of what has happened recently and over this past year. It's the communications. It's being transparent. It's telling them, I don't know the answer to that, but keep your people safe. And I just want to thank Bahar for that, because she's the one who said, we need to do this. So she took it upon herself to say, I'm going to have meetings every Tuesdays and Thursdays with the HRDs in the morning. We have meetings every Tuesday. It used to be every Tuesday and Thursday. Now it's every Tuesday with the XOs across all of HHS. So she didn't keep it in-house. She broadened it, and it's that communication. So they're comfortable coming to us. And it really was a leadership role that we embraced, and we moved out with it. And so I think, and I want to give you Bahar kudos for that, because without that, I don't think we would be where we are now. And I just wanted to have the last word, so you're not.
But you know, no, I can't let you have the last word. I can't let you have the last word.
No.
So part of what I was saying though was that
you mute her, Nick.
No, part of everyone's success has come from having the stabilizing forces, and I've only been able to do what I've been able to do because I have had the partnership from Blair and from Perrin the whole entire way. The partnership from our HR directors on top of that, our executive officers on top of that, our own staff members on top of that. People from across the department have chimed in to lend their support, to ask their questions, which let us know what the questions were that were out there. The platform that we established for the entire department to be able to ask their questions, we were able to do that within 1 week, thanks to Perrin's team and thanks to the platform that we already had for HR Exchange that is actually on top of ServiceNow. I know, Nick, you were waiting for it, but it is on top of ServiceNow functionality. We were able to share information and also provide a platform for employees to ask questions. All of these things, this partnership, that is what has led to our success. So each of us gets kudos. We give kudos, but the kudos go to all of the department and then beyond the department to all of the federal government leaders who have been working together for the past year to determine solutions for our people while focusing on mission accomplishment. Again, going back to our two truths. So
well, look, this is
the last thing
this is fantastic. Yeah, no, she won, which doesn't surprise any of us. I mean, look,
Yes.
This is exactly what I knew would happen, and I know the three of you, and the conversation is just coming to life. But I only really have time for one more question because, frankly, notwithstanding how compelling the three of you are, people can only watch these video things for so long. So I'm going to learn my lesson, and I'm going to start with Perrin. I'm going to go to Bahar, and then I'm just going to give Blair the last word, so that way he doesn't have to fight Bahar for it.
Bahar will interrupt.
Perrin, one of the things, Perrin, that again has struck me watching the three of you, and obviously I'm involved in watching from the ServiceNow perspective, but I know this goes beyond just the work that you're doing with us. You don't stop short of big thinking and big ideas because you're afraid of the interference or the limitations. You actually talk very openly about big ideas that have the potential to really scale, not even just to HHS or to HHS agencies, but to the federal government. I wonder what advice again would you give to people listening about exactly how this team functions in that way, with sort of the big thinking and wanting to be creative and explore big goals?
For the three of us, I would just say, Nick, it just comes naturally. It started with small victories, right? I mean, and I'll say I just remember the first meeting that Blair and Bahar and I went to with all of the HR directors across the department, and I'll just say it was unpleasant because we had not built any credibility with them. And I think that what gives us confidence to think in context of the big ideas is that we know we have backing from the people around us. And it's so important to have that confidence that, yeah, we may come up with a few stupid ideas, and I do mean some of them are really wacky, but hey, out of 5, 3 of them are solid. And so, and the other thing too is that we don't ask our partners to go in alone. They know that when we say we're going to do something, that we're going to do it. And we're not going to shirk away and say, yeah, that was a great idea, but we're going to send it down to someone else to do. I mean, we're actually there making it happen. And I think that because we're in the fray, we're able to pivot when something feels wrong. And we're able to stick through things and help people get over the hurdles and roadblocks and build reassurance and comfort that we're not just going to leave you high and dry and hanging when something gets tough. And I think we've proven that over and over and over again together. And it makes all the difference to bring the power of the enterprise CIO and the enterprise HR together and say, yeah, we've got you and we'll fight for you. And it's just made all the difference. And I'll let Bahar add to that.
Well, Perrin, I got so caught up in what you were saying and just thinking about how amazing you and the CIO team have been, and thinking, yeah, in response to everything that you said just now, that I don't remember what the original question was.
I knew that was coming.
But, but honestly, if it were not for the partnership from you and your team, we would not have been able to achieve as much as we have over the course of the past year. And certainly HHS would not have been able to achieve as much as it has over the past year. So thank you, Perrin.
So I just want to remind everyone that it's been almost 3 years now. We release things so quickly on our various platforms, and we can scale so rapidly. And again, the divisions now are also in a beautiful way contributing to our success, material contributions, not only with thought leadership, but also with products. And it feels like a year, but Bahar, I'll just remind you that it's been about 3 now.
No, you're right. You're right. It's been a particularly impactful year, but yes, it has been longer than that, Farron.
So, Blair, since Bahar has said my question was utterly forgettable, I will just simply say, you have the last word in this conversation, so you can say whatever you want.
Great, because I think I remember the question, and I think it's a great way to end this. Advice I would give anybody who wants to modernize anything through IT or any modernization effort. Number one, in today's environment, you've got to be bold. You can't just sit back and expect, you got to be bold. The vision, someone's got to have a vision. Someone's got to have an idea. Someone's got to bring those ideas to operationalize them in a way that is meaningful for the client. And one thing that, and we have these strategic meetings where I throw out ideas and they shoot them down, and they have ideas and I shoot them down, but it's a conversation. They're continuous. They never stop. No bad, we've heard this all the time, but no bad idea, there are no bad ideas. And in this case, there hasn't been a bad idea. Yeah, we had a couple bad ideas, but we didn't ever cut them down. We just said, all right, maybe we'll go a different direction. But the one thing I tell anybody is, if you're going to do this, really give your clients something they don't even know that they need. Give them something cool. Perrin with HHS Protect, they didn't even know they needed something like that. He built it. He gave it to them and said, here, let's tweak from a known entity. We're building bots that's pushing information to managers that they never even know they needed. So instead of, push it out, give them something new, innovative, they can go, wow, I never thought of that before. I'm now contributing to their ability to do their work in a more effective and efficient way. That's what I would tell you. Be bold. And then the final thing, bold, give them something that they don't even know they need. And Perrin mentioned this, and Bahar has mentioned this as well. You have to be accountable. You cannot just say, here, take this, you have to be accountable. If you do have a bad idea, which yes, we have, we were accountable for that bad idea. We said, oops, not one of our better decisions. We told everybody. But as long as you're accountable and you give them the thought that, okay, they're human. They made a mistake. They corrected that action. They're going to move out on something new. I think you're okay. You've got to be bold. You've got to really focus on the customer, what they need, and you got to work as a team. I'm going to end on that. I think we have the best team out there right now to do. I believe we could truly do anything. We can modernize anything through the IT space just because we work so well together and we are able to collaborate across an organization that's got 85,000 employees, and we do it seamlessly. So
the perfect final words, Blair. So a grateful thanks to you, Blair, to Bahar, to Perrin, not only for being here today, for your leadership and your service. We're grateful. To the audience, you've been watching ServiceNow's Federal Forum. There are a ton of great sessions. Hope you'll tune in. If you'd like more information on the amazing work that's happening, it's hhs.gov or servicenow.com for us. Thanks so much for your time this morning.